Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Tool Time with Texas Tiff, and today we're gonna learn how to hang a picture inside in the air conditioning. How hard can it be to hang a picture, right? Well, if you've ever tried to, you know that it can be a little more challenging than you think. So there's a couple different frame types that you're gonna see kind of in general. You're gonna have some that just have the single hook on the back. Those will be pretty easy, right? The ones that get a little tricky for me, anyway, are the ones that have these double hanging hooks on them, where it's got two. Trying to get that straight and even can be super tricky. I'm gonna show you two different ways that I use to hang something like this to make it easy on you. One of the easiest ways when you have a hanger that's got the little hooks on it this way is to actually just attach a wire to it. Then you're only gonna have to have one space on the wall to put your hole. There's several different types of wire out there. It's in the picture hanging section at your local hardware store. And there's different weights on these, like this is for a 30-pound photo, this is for 50. So if you've got a super heavy piece of art that you're hanging, you might want to go something a little heavier. I prefer the braided ones. Also, there's some that's just straight wire, but the braided I feel like just gives it a little bit of extra strength. So let me show you how this works. Okay, all you're gonna need is a piece of this wire and some wire cutters. Now these are a pair of simple needle nose pliers, but they also have a wire cutter on the inside there. So you don't need anything super special. We're gonna measure. I'm gonna start on one end like this. We won't rewrap the whole thing right now. But you want it pretty tight because you don't want it to hang above the frame. So we're gonna go stretch it straight across. I'm just gonna give it a little extra on the end there so I have room to wrap it and cut that right off. We're going to just kind of thread it through here. I do want it nice and tight because I don't want it to stretch. They're gonna stretch a little bit, but you don't want it to stretch so far that you have like a part of the wire showing at the top. So we're just going to pull it nice and tight and just wrap it around and around like this. I'm just gonna hold it nice and secure so it doesn't slip out of that ring. So now that we've got that wire on there nice and tight, now we only have one place that we have to put a hole in the wall instead of two that we have to try and measure. This is one of my favorite ways to hang a photo that has two hooks on the back. Now let's work on getting it on the wall. Once we find the wall that we wanna put the frame on, you're gonna need a couple minor tools. Stud finder, pretty inexpensive, you can get them at any hardware store. I would recommend using a pencil. Don't happen to have one in my bag, so we're gonna go with a Sharpie. Shh, don't tell anybody. We are in a new construction home at the moment, so please excuse all the blue tape you see. Okay, so I am personally an eyeballer. I hate measuring and doing math when it comes to locating where we wanna put things. So I am usually just gonna kind of pull one of these numbers where I'm looking like this. I've got my finger at the very top of the frame where it's gonna be the most taut. Here, determine where that's gonna go. I'm gonna hold my finger there. I try not to drop the frame. Done that. And make a small mark where we wanna put our nail or our screw, okay? Now, how do you know when you need to use a nail or a screw in the wall? Now, this frame is actually pretty heavy, so I'm probably not gonna wanna just hang that with your basic nail. Unless it's gonna be in a stud, then maybe we'd be okay. So let's find out if this is actually in a stud. Now sometimes you can just knock on the wall. You can hear if it's more solid versus more hollow, but we're gonna actually use the stud finder today. We're gonna place this on the wall, push that button on the side. That little top light should tell us when we hit the edge of a stud. Okay, so we're right on the edge there. So our mark may very well be. Okay, here's the thing I want you new homeowners to know, or even some of you experienced homeowners. Putting a hole in the wall is not the end of the world, I promise. It's easy to fix. I can show you that in another video. It's gonna be okay. So if we put it in the wrong place, it's not gonna be the end of the world to change it. So let's give this a shot and see where we go. Okay, that was way too easy and I can spin it with my hand. So that tells me we're not in a stud. And that's okay, but we don't wanna hang a heavy picture frame on something that's just gonna be in the drywall. So now we're gonna have to use an anchor. Okay, have you ever purchased something that comes with those cheesy little anchors? They look something like this. They're usually white. These suck. We're not gonna use those, okay? These are the ones that I actually love and they're pretty inexpensive. They do come in different colors, different sizes, that sort of thing. But the basic concept is you're gonna hammer in the little anchor instead of having to drill a hole in the wall and then screw the anchor in, all that. This one's super simple. I'm gonna show you how to do it in just a second. But these are super easy to use. It comes with everything that you need. What's gonna end up happening is the screw goes in, it's gonna hit this little tab here and actually bend this out. So this anchor is not just going in the wall this way, it's actually bending down at a 90-degree angle. And so it's gonna hold that photo completely against the surface of the inside of the wall. This particular brand, super easy to use, but it has a little tiny arrow at the top. It says that we need to put that arrow facing up. We're gonna grab our hammer, tap that baby in the wall. Now for this particular set also, make sure you're using the screw that comes with them. They're flat on the end. That's actually what's gonna pop that pin on the inside of the wall out. Okay, now that we have that in, you're supposed to use a regular screwdriver. I don't like using regular screwdriver. We're gonna put this in and then very slowly. So now we have our wire nice and secure on the back. We have our anchor in the wall so it's not gonna pull out of the drywall. And you just need to leave a little bit of a gap between the back of the screw and the wall there. Okay. Now we're just gonna, whoops. Hold the back of that. And voila. Okay, now we've hung a photo with photo wire, making it a little easier for us. Now let's do it the hard way, where we actually have to put 2 holes in the wall, get them evenly spaced, and get them level. So this one's a little bit trickier, but it's also much more lightweight. So we don't have to use the screws, and we probably weren't gonna have to put an anchor in the wall. So we're gonna use nails on this one. Now, there's a couple different methods you can use. I have 2 favorites. So there's this really cool tool called the Hang-O-Matic, real inventive, right? I'm gonna show you how to use that one in a minute. I got that at Hobby Lobby. But I have an even better hack. It's called blue toothpaste. Okay, so what the heck are we gonna do with toothpaste? Let me show you. This is gonna be our little trick to marking our space on the wall. All we're gonna do is put a little blob right in the center here where we want our nail to go on both sides. We have our toothpaste markers, and we're gonna go to the wall, and we're gonna see if we can get this up. All right, I'm gonna kind of position it, and you can set the bottom of the frame, kind of just to give you some leveling. And we're gonna put our level back up here. Make sure we're somewhat centered before we smack it to the wall. So now we kind of know we're centered. We're gonna press it to the wall. As I mentioned, this one's pretty lightweight, so we're not gonna have to use anything super strong to hold it. The trick with finding the right nail is one that's gonna have a head on it that's gonna hold the bracket. Okay, so you just wanna make sure you get nails that have a head on the end. They don't need to be super thick. I have some that I purchased and I was not trying to hang. We don't need stakes. We're not trying to hang anything. And you don't really want a hole in your wall that big. So something basic and small like this is fine. We have our super easy markers here. We're just gonna put these in real quick. This is a great way to hold a nail. I like to do it at an angle. Leave a little bit sticking out there. Okay, now that we've got our nails in, we probably wanna wipe off the excess toothpaste. I mean, you could leave it and then your house would smell like minty fresh. We're just gonna wipe that off real quick. All right, we've gotta wipe that off the back of our brackets there as well. And super simple. Careful not to drag this down your wall too hard. It will leave marks. Okay, once you get it centered, you can press. All right, we're gonna just check it real quick, make sure we got it nice and level, and voila. All right, well, we did it. We hung a couple picture frames with a couple different ways. We'll see you next time on Tool Time with Texas Tiff. Okay, so we actually want to make sure that these little sharp points on the back here are kind of centered on the back of these two. Okay. Then we wanna make sure that that leveling bubble is in the center. And then it's super simple. You just go to your wall. You're gonna take those 2 points, make sure your bubble is centered in the middle, so that's gonna tell us if we're straight or not. Come on, bubble. About right there. Oh, it's so crooked. And then we're just gonna press these in. That's gonna leave 2 little holes, little notches. And that's where we're gonna put our nail.